This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Here, listen now. Oh, no. Oh, here.
Good morning, Frankie.
Good morning. I was watching, which one was it? It was one of the Harry Potter films. What's the one before Half-Blood Prince?
I'm completely the wrong person to ask.
Oh,
I've
yes.
never seen one.
You are.
No,
yes.
I've seen one
I know
with
what it
you.
was. Order of the Phoenix. I was watching
yes.
Order of the Phoenix.
Yeah.
And it was on ITV2. And so there were adverts.
Lovely channel.
Yeah. So, there's adverts, but I can, as you know, as we all know on Absolute Radio, adverts are good. So, there was a Lego advert about 3/4 of a way through Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. And the Lego set that it advertised was basically one of the key moments yet to come in the film, but in Lego. So I feel it's all right to say this out loud because, it's not just out.
Wow.
There's a bit where the sort of baddie in it is grabbed by a giant and held aloft as they are surrounded by angry centaurs. You know the kind of thing, Em?
It's happened to the best of us.
But it hadn't happened yet in the film, but there it was in Lego, giving the whole thing away. And it took me back to when I was a kid, staying up with my dad to watch Nottingham Forest in what was then called the European Cup, now Champions League. And there's a sort of a greenhorn new guy, what do they call the guys in between
Pundits.
shows? No, the guys that sort of say are now on ITV.
Oh, yeah, like doing the links, yeah.
Yeah, they've got like a
continuity
anchor,
announcement.
Continuity.
Yeah.
So it went to this fresh-faced continuity. And he says, now coming up now, the European Cup football. And I'm not allowed to say the score, but I'll just say that Notts Forest did very well.
Stupid idiot.
Oh, and my old man went bananas. But absolutely, because he was a bloke who used to put his fingers in his ears and go, when they talked about football on telly. But anyway, I tell you what, on 8/12/15, what is the worst spoiler experience you've had? And it needn't be films or telly. It could be, you've got 6 months to live, mate. It could be one of those. Maybe not. Actually, maybe not one of those. I'll take that back. But anything that's been, I didn't want to know that. I'd love to hear from you guys on that one.
Yes.
Here's a story as well. I went...
Max Bygrave.
Because we pre-recorded the show last week. We are live this morning, by the way, so you can text like there's no Tamara Beckwith. And I hope there is still. Well, we'll check that out.
Tamara Beckwith?
Yeah,
yes, there is, absolutely.
The It girl, Tamara Beckwith.
She's in good health.
Is she?
Yes.
What, that sitcom? I had a weird... Here's another thing. I had one of the strangest 70s sitcom moments of my life. I was flicking through the channels. There's a thing called Forces TV. Oh. And we've all done that in our time. And they're showing Citizen Smith, and I thought, God, I haven't seen Citizen Smith for years. For you younger people who listen to this show, I know there's about 8 of you. There's the guy with the quail and about 3 others.
Conan.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
Conan the Birdarian, as someone's called him.
And they're very good.
No, someone that I can't claim credit for that. I never would.
Well, we'll come back to that. No, we'd never claim credit for it. Anyway, so. Where was I?
You were watching Forces TV rather extraordinarily.
Exactly. Yeah, and Citizen Smith was a show about a sort of an urban communist revolutionary who never got anywhere.
He had a catchphrase, power to the people.
Power to the people, that's right. But there was an episode, I think of it as one of the classic 70s sitcoms, and then there was an episode, I thought, what's this episode called? The episode was called Only Fools and Horses. And I thought, I've got into some 70s sitcom vortex. I am lost.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Hold on, I'm just going to do a date check. Mayday. Mayday.
Oh,
Mayday. London calling. Okay. There you go. Good to know.
Lovely.
People now can all change their calendars. I think on my wall calendar in my own room, it goes from the Flash to Green Hornet today.
Does it?
Just saying.
Have you got through all your packets of KP nuts then?
They weren't on calendars. They were just on cards on the
They
wall.
were on rather. I'm afraid it was a different time then.
It was different time. No, we didn't know.
Oh, I think we did know in that case.
Yeah, maybe.
In the case of the KP nut, can we please credit, or I wish to credit, the person who dreamt up Conan the Birdarian?
That's a good. Can I just give a little bit of this? Is that we had?
If you must.
It was Conan, wasn't it?
Précis.
We had a guy called Conan who was 12
From Letchworth.
From Letchworth, that's right, and he got a quail, and he wants he wanted to name it, so we offered some possibilities. And just
perplexingly, he thought we would have good suggestions, which I'm fairly confident in saying we did not.
Well, I thought, had a very good one, Dan Quayle. We didn't know the gender.
No.
But Dan Quayle, that Al suggests after the American politician, I thought was very good. My own Anthony Quayle, my one, which was named after a sort of old British actor, who I remembered after I'd seen live on stage at, I think it was the Alexandra Theatre in Birmingham. And he came on stage, and you know when a famous actor comes on stage, you get the applause. Well, you certainly do in the provinces.
Yeah.
Maybe not in the sophisticated
Not at the National
Southeast.
Not at the Cottesloe Deer.
So he got that. And he turned and glared. Absolutely glared at the audience. And we all stopped immediately. Absolutely terrifying. And then I spoke to, I think it was Peter Egan I spoke to, who'd been in a play with Kenneth More, the popular British actor. And he said it's quite a realist play. And Kenneth More came on, got his round, and took a formal bow in the midst of like a proper play where people were pretending it was the real world. You know,
Oh, I love it. And what did Kenneth More call his autobiography? I mean, the world was his oyster. With a name like that. I mean, now it would be Moorish.
Oh, yeah, it would be. Very Moorish. That would be. That would, which, of course, was also Othello's.
Oh, yes. Different spellings. So
I've got one more walking.
One more?
Yeah, one more. Come on. Now we're on to. I love a theatrical anecdote.
One more. I hope he called it one more.
I think this was Peter Egan as well. He told me that he was working with Wilfrid Hyde-White, and you'll know one of my favourite ever film credits was Man in Marquee, Wilfrid Hyde-White. Wilfrid Hyde-White was always old. He was one of those actors. But when he was 18, he looked about 63. People did in those days.
I love Always Old. Another Always Old, not an actor, but Arthur Mullard, Always Old.
Always Old. Cancelled, though. So we can cut that in the edit.
Okay.
Anyway, Wilfrid Hyde-White was in a restoration drama in an enormous wig that they always wear. And he came on and... nothing happened. And he said afterwards, I'm pretty sure it was Peter Egan, the actor, who told me. He said, well, I didn't get my round. And he said, well, I don't think they recognised you. It's quite difficult in that wig. He says, so the next night when he came on, he turned and stared straight at the audience for no apparent reason. Still no applause. And he was mortified. And he said, I can't believe it. I always get my round. And he said the third night he came on carrying the wig. So that they got his round, put the wig on and then carried on. Fantastic. Sorry, I've used a whole link of theatrical anecdotes. Someone thinks I've accidentally tuned into Ned Sherrin on...
Don't have to apologise to me, dear.
On the Light programme. But forgive me, guys, but you know what? I loved it. Some things you do for the audience and some you just do for yourself.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I think we've had some outside world communication, have we not? I did miss it last week. When we pre-record, I do miss the readers.
So do I. I
input.
love our readers.
Carry on.
Well, for a start, I'm going to share this with you from Smithy. Does anyone else live in a place that describes them? Love, Dave from Old Coulsdon.
Lovely.
We've also had a we've had a few responses to your, what would you call it, Frank? The spoilers.
Worst spoiler moments.
Worst spoiler moments. Dave, 1971. He says, Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Sailor.
What? Someone told him how the rhyme ended. Does he mean Tinker, Tailor, Soldier, Spy, the John le Carre?
I think he might do.
Oh, okay.
He says, I was too young.
Maybe he was anticipating some sort of nautical final episode and was let down by the fact that it was all going to be Cold War-y.
That it was going to be all on the town. I was too young to watch when it was broadcast on the BBC, but I knew it was held in high regard. Oh, I love high regard.
Yeah.
I was like, what of my family? I bought the DVD, but I wanted to wait until I had free time to sit and concentrate. Before I had a chance, I watched a UK top 50 drama show, and they revealed them all.
Oh, no.
No.
That's always dangerous, those hit list shows. They always have. Mm-hmm. There's a Harry Potter one that gives away basically everything, but not in Lego form. Lego spoilers are that's pretty unusual.
We're getting a lot of people communicating with us about Sixth Sense and Usual Suspects. We've had Nick Boyd. I walked into a room when my friends were watching The Usual Suspects. It was the very end of the film, so I now know the ending, but I've never seen the film.
I'm like that with The Sixth Sense. I've never seen it, but everybody's mentioned it so much that there's no point in me watching that film.
Well, I saw Eddie Izzard live, and it was at the Ambassadors. I think is it the Ambassadors? It's right next to where the Mousetrap.
Yes, yeah.
And at the end of the show,
anecdotes today.
Yeah, at the end of the show, Eddie Izzard told the story of. Said who did it in the mouse at the end of the Mousetrap.
Eddie, what are you doing?
I'll tell you something that ends about the end of the Mousetrap.
We're not going to say.
No, but what happens is that one of the cast comes on stage and says, "Please don't tell anyone."
Yeah.
They've been saying that for like 40 years.
Yeah.
And when I went to see it, I didn't know the ending, but I thought it was bad form.
Well, it's not what one does in the theatre.
No, dear.
Now, Simon Smith, before I could even...
Has he got a dancing bear?
Simon
no.
Smith?
There was a...
But you know why?
There was a song called Simon Smith and his amazing dance.
It's very cruel.
Very cruel.
Simon Smith has got in touch. Just a warning.
I'm going to play this for Simon Smith. Oh dear! I think we have to go to.
We'll leave it on a cliffhanger.
What has Simon Smith got to say? Is that you can use that at the beginning of any voice messages he leaves. You can put that in. He's saying that. That's my tip. SS, as his friends call it. We won't ask why.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're in the midst of Simon Smithathon, I think.
Oh, yes. I'm just going to...
But who would think a boy and bear could do well accepted everywhere? It's just amazing how fair people can be.
So
you need to be careful with what you plant to people, because 631 has sent us a complaint. Thanks for that. We're on a long car journey, and now both of our young boys are singing that stupid Gummy Bear song that you played.
Oh dear!
I find it quite uplifting. The Gummy. If I'm when I'm down and troubled and I need a helping hand and nothing. Yeah, I always turn to. Oh, I'm a gummy and suddenly the world ain't so bad.
I was doing what I call my dry myself down with a towel dance move on my back.
Gummy bears, of course, the sweet, they contain that most exotic of contents, or is it ingredients, that I don't know if you get in your average modern sweetener, which is called gum arabic.
Oh, yes.
Oh, man, I can think of, belly dancers and bells and incense. Oh, a bit more gum Arabic Effendi. Ah, yes. Effendi. I hope Effendi doesn't offend anyone. You don't hear it said anymore, but it used to be a thing that was said.
It used to be your nickname. Simon Smith. There's going to be a warning with this in case we get.
Can you tell us what Simon says?
Well, I will tell you what Simon says, but it will result somewhat inevitably in a spoiler itself.
Okay.
So can we accept that there is some sort of basic statute of limitations on these spoilers?
Well, I mean, there has to be some sell-by dates on spoilers, surely.
Thank you. Simon Smith said, before I could even open my mouth, my son blurted out, Iron Man dies. Thanks, Sam.
Oh yeah. That's terrible.
Well, I didn't know that. Someone did that to me with Turner and Hooch. My sister said to me, Hooch dies. I didn't know Hooch dies.
That's a shame.
I don't know if I've seen Turner and Hooch.
I'm
getting anxious about this now, because if anyone is going to watch
Turner and Hooch.
When Iron Man goes, man, it was so awful.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, 387 had a problem when Titanic came out. Someone at work told him the boat sank before he'd seen the film.
I think that's all right. Speaking of the Iron Man type
what
superhero. Speaking of the Iron Man type superhero, I don't know if you've seen Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Let me just think. Absolutely
I know you
not.
haven't, Emily, but it's 4 hours, but I loved it.
4 hours of justice being dispensed.
Exactly, and I really loved it. And there's a bit where I think it's... I
don't want an hour of justice.
The Flash, I think it is, says to Batman, so what's your superpower? And he says, I'm rich. And I do like that.
That's like you, Frank.
How dare you say that?
Guess what, Anne? You're funny as well.
Are we ever going to find out what Simon Smith said?
I've told you what he said. He said the Iron Man thing.
Oh, of course he did, yeah.
I want to...
I wish we hadn't found out now, the big spoilerer.
Well, I know, but it got you thinking about that justice programme you like.
I also wore wellies on a recent holiday, and we walked in the river in wellies, and it did make me think, this is what Iron Man must feel like, that really protected feeling by your outer...
No, it's not.
Your outer casing. Is that not fair?
Wellies in the river.
Iron Man doesn't do much wading because of rust.
No, he's enamelled, heavily enamelled. Iron Man.
What is he, Iron Man? I mean, is he just made of iron? I don't know anything about
he's
him.
Tony Stark,
don't
millionaire.
Don't you get impatient with me because I don't know your weird things.
Eccentric billionaire Tony Stark built this suit,
original.
and he dwelleth inside it. It's armour, basically. It's armour.
Dwelleth inside.
He dwelleth inside it, not all the time, but many a time and oft. I think that's the summary for any new readers to Marvel.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We've had a few missives in. Harry McCarthy.
Good name.
In school, reading Of Mice and Men. Opened the first page to find someone had written, George kills Lenny.
Oh, nice. that is just wrong, isn't it? Especially as it was Steinbeck.
I had my university copy of Ulysses. Relatable. It said someone had written on the first page 799 pages and no punchline.
I think I had that as a review.
And then Andy Wilson finally says, Bruno v Tyson. I avoided the result all night, then I went to watch the highlights. The announcer said, here's a chance to see how Frank Bruno failed in his attempt last night.
No.
To this day I mute sound. I know.
Continuity announcers.
For time invested, it's hard to beat 111, who says, years ago I was catching up on 24 on DVD just after it had aired on TV. Friend, really excited to discuss and thinking I'd finished it, blurted out, What about when it turned out to be Nina? I'd just finished hour 23. She knows who she is.
That is. I mean, God, you got to be. I said this is making me quite edgy. This texting, so we're giving stuff away. I'm still anxious. If you can avoid one.
I'd like to know if we do have a demographic that's watching 24 now. I would be shocked.
We probably do.
So. Well,
on VHS as well.
They're the ones listening to Absolute 90s.
Let's turn off Spoiler Highway.
Okay.
Down into Hookie Street. Because
Hookie Street.
Matthew Hayward has got in touch to say, hi all, Citizen Smith and OFAH. What does that stand for, Al?
Only Fools and Horses.
Oh.
I'm good on the initials.
Yeah, I was pointing out earlier that I recently discovered from flicking through the telly, there's an episode of the 70s classic sitcom Citizen Smith that's called Only Fools and Horses, which really confused me.
And so magnifique. And Matt has pointed out Citizen Smith and OFAH were both written by the great John Sullivan.
Ah, yes.
So the episode title was actually a prediction of the future.
Oh, spoilers, Sullivan? Is that in the spoilers section?
Or he's recycling a phrase that he liked, like any good artist.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it was a phrase, wasn't it? Only Fools and Horses work. It was a sort of a proverb type.
Yeah, I think
it wasn't one that I used often, but
No, but
I'm sure people did.
Not a woman as young as yourself wouldn't have used
it. I'm sure this seems to be. I think we all accept this is very much your area. The Only Fools and Horses trivia. Where did the phrase originate?
I've no idea.
I'm sure it's just
it's not in the book I got sent.
I'm sure it's a term people say. Only Fools and Horses work.
Like Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Yeah, exactly. Like Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Which is I don't know if you've ever listened to Mad Dogs and Englishmen. The song is brilliant.
Yes, is that a Cole Porter? Noel Coward?
No, Noel Coward.
Noel Coward.
Funny Noel Coward. Late review.
Yes. No, definitely.
Do you know that one? I wonder what happened to him. And he said, I heard he was banned from a club in Bombay, not just because his mess bills exceeded his pay, but he took to pig sticking in quite the wrong way. I wonder what happened to him. Great work. Noel Coward there on Absolute Radio. I'm doing Mastermind next year.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Happy May Day to all our readers. You can't see this, but I've got Lego trucks with missiles on going across my desk at the moment. I've put quite a heavy black overcoat and trilby on.
I have several braids in my hair wrapped round.
Oh, yes. And I think we're going to do some public PE outside. And Emily, in national costume, is going to hold a lot of flowers.
Yeah.
It's Russia Day on Absolute Radio. So, here's the thing. I went, because we didn't do the show live last week, it freed me up on Saturday morning to go and watch my son play football.
Freed him up, Al. You're making us sound like some pesky ex-girlfriend you've shown
an
off.
obligation that has to be fulfilled, aren't we?
No. Anyway, it was just circumstances. So I went along and the game was nearing the end, and they'd put him in goal for the last sort of 5 minutes, and then there was a corner, and the coach, they needed a goal, and the coach said, come up for the corner, boss. So Boz started racing up for the corner, and the kid taking the corner kicked it to Boz, and Boz hit it first time. I mean, an absolute screamer, and it was on its way. It was on its way to the goal, and already I was thinking, this is a moment I'll treasure my whole life. And one of his teammates stopped the ball on the line and then kicked it in himself. So it was his goal.
What?
Yeah.
We've all met that one.
Oh,
Oh.
So I was walking.
You say one of his teammates, I say one of his ex-friends.
Yes, I mean,
how did Buzz deal with it?
He didn't take it that well. And I tried to do the parent thing on the way back. I said, look, it doesn't matter. You'll get lots of other 25-yard screamers from which... I said, don't worry about it. And he said, well, I heard you say to the coach that if it had happened to you when you were 8, you'd still be lying awake thinking about it now. So that was... should have kept my mouth shut about... He's quite right, of course. I played celebrity cricket once. And
who was that with then? Who was?
Our captain was Bill Franklin, who used to do you know who adverts. Do you remember him? We had
White's Lemonade.
I remember him.
No, not White's Lemonade.
Oh, Schweppes, yeah.
Anyway, so it was. I picked up the ball in the field and hurled it at the. I was quite a way out and hit the stumps and ran this guy out. And the umpire, being nice to this, I can't remember who the other person was. The umpire didn't give it out, and I was horrified. I remember Chris Tarrant from First Slip saying to me, "Just think, Frank, you'll never do that again." And that was correct. But oh man, it was. But on the subject, I'll just do a quick... We watched the League Cup final together, Buzz and I, because my son is a Spurs fan. I know. And they lost as well. This is his lovely football weekend that he had, robbed of a dream goal. And I'll tell you what he did, which is something... We do subscribe to the Beano, and it might have something to do with this, but he printed off a colour photocopy of the goal scorer, Laporte, and sellotaped it to his punch ball. I was actually walloping it, and I thought, I kind of forgot that's such a motif from the comics or something like that.
I love it.
As a way to get your own back.
I'm trying to think who that reminds me of. Who do I know who do something like that?
Yeah, but it's so hard to get photos of the Aria judges.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I thought I'd got away last week with my quail name suggestion.
Did you?
Bill Quayle.
Bill, yeah, so we spoke earlier of Conan who asked for a name. The 12-year-old who wants a name for his new quail.
Yes.
That old radio trope.
We should probably make a point that we're not actually lending ourselves out as pet naming services.
Well, I'm certainly not after my efforts. I came up with Bill Quayle. It was one of the worst things I've ever said in my whole life. Let's make it absolutely
clear. Let's give it a frame. Emily's suggestion was Bill Quayle.
Okay.
After Bill Bailey, the well-known dancer.
And I did say at the time...
He has lifted his legs for money.
So is my dog. We all have, dear.
Yeah.
It is honestly the worst thing I've ever said in my life.
Oh, come now.
Oh, well, that's quite a good life if that's the case, because I say worse things.
It is a good life.
What about
50 times an hour?
What about Viminera or Weimaranas?
Oh, yeah.
No, what I actually said was why Mariner.
Okay.
Okay.
Why Mariner? That was a text that Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
Yes, exactly.
got.
I was addressing Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
So you said I tried to get you out of it, but I joined in. So I said maybe we could make it
awful.
We could make it Quayle because it's a feathered creature.
Remember, you tried, and to be fair, you both tried to let me.
I don't think Al did.
No,
Al was merciless.
No, I didn't.
I think
I was, yeah.
I had a sort of
harsh.
semi... Look, I had an escape route. I chose not to take it. Okay? What I would say is I spent the week reflecting.
Okay.
And I would like to apologise. We have...
I spent a week reflecting and I just got a little bit of powder and it's fine now. I have to say, if I was Conan, that would have been my choice, though. I would have gone for Bill Quayle because you can't top its resonance.
What about when the producer named the episode Bill Quayle on the podcast?
Actually, I received a direct message. I received a direct message from my mate Graham saying that's a bit harsh calling the podcast Bill Quayle.
I mean, people are even talking about the cruelty to me. Can we return, though, to the subject of
We have actually had some good suggestions from the wider world. Maybe Conan the Birdarian should have asked the readership of this show, because some
I
of
think
them are really...
that was inferred. If you ask us, then...
Can I raise another question?
Go on.
Conan, you did point out, is Conan's 12?
Yeah.
Is he 12? I mean, Frank did point out there were some Knight's Move references. All I'm saying, Conan, is if you could send a photograph of yourself clutching a copy of today's newspaper with the date on it.
What's this, the 39th step?
Yes, I would appreciate it, okay?
Look, I just believe people. That's my wag.
Oh, I don't.
That's your failing.
But you know what? I hope he is, because I'm very fond of Conan the Birdarian.
Yeah, but we didn't hear back from him.
No, but we've had some good suggestions, which I think we'll come to after something else, probably.
Well, it's what I call a cliffhanger. Quail name suggestions. We're going to call this section "You Got Quail."
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Now, we were on the quails.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And we had some lovely suggestions from our readers, didn't we?
We did. Joe Pasquale was suggested by Andrew Gardner.
That's good, Joe Pasquale.
Yeah. We actually had this morning Martin Wren.
Well, that's a coincidence.
Loved the show. And
they stick together, don't they? The avians.
Mm-hmm.
And just listen to last week's podcast, but not all the way through. I wonder if they should be friends with Russell Crowe. I mean, that would be the triumvirate.
That would be good.
I mention this just in case this suggestion was used later on, but how about Gorby, as in Mikhail Gorbachev?
Oh, yeah.
Do you like that? You seem a bit reluctant about that one, Frank. You seem you were okay, but
I'd forgotten it was Mikhail Gorbachev.
Okay. We also have.
I always used to think with Gorbachev that moment when he was about, say, 25, when he was combing his hair back, and thought, hold on a minute, what's that? Anyway, carry on.
What about Brendan, Al? Brendan has suggested Hercule Poirot.
That's good.
You like that?
I like that.
Yeah, they're all male names so far.
Oh, not Quail Swift.
Oh, yeah, very good. Two birds as well. If only it was some sort of mongrel cross between a quail and a swift. I don't know if such a thing is possible. But let's put two in a cage and see what happens.
Or Quail Platt.
Oh, excellent.
Okay.
I mean, I like that. If Conan the Birdarian is northern, there's a chance that Quail Platt will win, I think.
That was Eddie O'Keefe, by the way. Sounds very much like a boxing promoter.
Is Gail Helen Worth?
Lovely.
Is she
good knowledge.
Former Doctor Who? She was one of the colonists in probably Colony in Space.
Okay.
Anyway,
is that right?
Yeah. Helen Worth... is she one of the queens of the street who's had several surnames?
Oh, yes.
Oh, maybe.
She was Gail Tilsley as well, wasn't she?
Was. I know her
right.
as Gail Tilsley because Chris Quentin is my vintage of Coronation Street.
Yes.
Do you know who that is, Al?
No.
Chris Quentin played a character who... He was like a heartthrob garage person.
He was a garage mechanic, and he was very much he was a big old heartthrob, Chris Quentin.
It was a terrible moment when he was on The Word with what was that actress's name? And they had her on the line, I think, or he was on the line, and she said, "You never return any of my phone calls on air." Oh, it was terrible, but of course brilliant. I am something of a student of awkwardness, and it really was. It was even at home where I was safe, I was like the warder looking through the prison door peephole. They couldn't get at me. But even so, that made slightly dislocated my shoulders. I squirmed so much. Golden age of telly there on Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Can we please discuss? I would say
Forgive me.
it is one of my favourite shows. It's in my top 3 favourite shows on British television.
Dog the Bounty Hunter?
No.
Okay.
Close but no cigar aficionado.
I know what it's going to be.
Is it? Oh, my next guess was going to be Can't Pay, We'll Take It Away.
Al, you're not wrong. I love a bit of bailiffs action. I know that's wrong. It's the Schadenfreude. I adore Mastermind. I really do. I mean,
You adore what?
Mastermind.
What?
What's wrong
It's
with
all right. I think that's okay.
It's fine. No,
what
it's
are you
totally
laughing
fine.
at?
It
Well,
just
I mean,
sounds funny.
What
I think
does
we're all
Mastermind?
different. But you know what?
Yeah.
We're all God's children.
Oh, what's it? Tell me what you're
Well,
laughing
I
at.
think it's normally, even posh people say mastermind, do they?
No,
Yeah.
they don't.
Maybe they don't.
If Boris Johnson
Any
was
posh people
talking to
listening?
you, he wouldn't say, "Hello there, I'm just calling to check if you've recorded Mastermind."
I saw a clip of Boris
No,
Johnson.
Jacob Rees-Mogg. He doesn't say, "Hello, I was wondering, Emily, if you'd recorded tonight's episode of Mastermind."
No, you're actually you're
Thank
right.
you.
No,
We speak
but
differently.
I'm loving the gang you've put yourself in.
I saw a clip.
I'm trying to be more
today.
likeable.
Boris Johnson was on the telly this morning, and you know that how politicians try to say I'm just like you. I'm an ordinary person. I think this was an accidental one, but he was at some school or something doing something, and he picked up some sellotape to do this thing, and he couldn't find the end of it, and you could see like his podgy fingers. You know, when you run your
it's a
fingernail
shame.
round trying to find it. And I
That's
thought that's
relatable.
probably won him about 10 million votes. People watching that thinking, yeah, he's like us. We know how that feels. You share our pain, Boris.
Well, I apologise. My pronunciation is a little.
No,
Now
strange.
let's go with Mastermind.
Okay, no, you know.
Al, shall me and you call it that as well?
I think you
Yeah,
should call it Mastermind, and I'll call it Mastermind. So
Okay.
Mastermind, they have. I mean, the celebrity edition is obviously my favourite. I have a
Is it?
question.
I would
Frank
call that-
Skinner, have you ever been asked to be on it?
I have been asked to be on it, yeah.
And why have you not?
Well, I sort of am slightly resentful of the fact that Celebrity, any quiz show, that they always take the standard of the questions down quite a
Yeah.
bit. And it's interesting that, because I think there was a time, maybe 30 years ago, when people thought that brighter people got on in
Yeah.
the world. But now, years of reality TV, we've come to think that it's the age of the imbecile. So if you're going to put them on telly, let's take it, first question, red or black. So I don't really, I didn't fancy the celebrity one, although it did have one of my favourite rounds of all time. That who is the woman who we watch on telly every morning doing a sort of points of view where the BBC takes, the woman with the great hair. Anyway, she did Space 1999 as a specialist subject, and I think got
Brilliant.
and she's like an intellectual.
Samira Ahmed?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes. Very good. And she did Space 1999. I mean, what a choice.
Frank, what about Murray Walker, Formula One? I mean, come on.
Did he do that?
Yeah, he did.
That's not
Did he
fair, is
really?
it?
He did Formula
Wow.
One.
What about Mylene Class? Sex in the City season 3.
Season 3.
I think it was just one season she did anyway. I'm not watching 2 box sets the night before.
Frank Skinner. Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
So we're discussing Mastermind.
Yeah.
And the
We are. We're
particular...
discussing Mastermind.
Oh, yes.
Lovely. What are we discussing, Frank?
Mastermind.
Lovely.
Used to be hosted by one of the most generous, big-hearted TV presenters of all time, Magnanimouson.
Can I just say,
Only works
the
if you
stick
know.
I got for Bill Quayle.
Yeah, I'm also thinking maybe I should have slipped in magnanimous earlier in the show and explained what it meant.
Yeah,
so I
and
could
then it would
bring
have been
you-
a callback.
I don't want
Right.
people going to their Google dictionary and then coming back to the joke to work it out.
It's good that you include the groundlings. You're like one of the great writers, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. I've got like a big stick with a thing on the end that I can prod them.
He's lovely like that. Like
Yeah.
me with my pals Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson.
Exactly.
Can we discuss the grand final, which sounds like something out of the grand final. What I love about it, I just want to briefly say, is that they've stuck with the chair. You know, most shows, they get a rebrand, don't they? The
Oh, they
music
couldn't-
goes
they
a bit
could
bow
not.
chicka wow wow.
Yeah.
The chair becomes a pink fuchsia rather than double glazing firm 1977.
Yeah.
They've stuck with it, Frank.
No, they can't.
It gets called the daunting black chair.
Yeah.
do,
But I
do you
can't
guys
get-
find it daunting?
I think I would if I was on there, because people do say that your brain starts to seize up a bit when you're actually in the chair. I remember Bob Holness used to say at the end of a gold run, "Oh, that's easy on telly, but you should try
Right.
standing here and do it."
Have you ever
Just throwing in at the
have you
end
ever
of a
seen those
gold
chairs
run.
that?
I think we all
Have you
watch.
seen those chairs that walkers take with them that look like a stick with a catcher's mitt on the end?
Oh,
You
yeah,
know
a
those
shooting
chairs?
stick.
Yeah, is that actually a seat? Is that what it is?
Yeah. But it used to be
Yeah,
a
see,
shooting.
I would find that a daunting chair.
Well,
I
you
don't
wouldn't
know
be
if
able
I
to
find
stick it into the studio floor either. I mean, it'd be
What chair do you find daunting? 8, 12, 15?
That's a
I
daunting
think that's
chair
a great
week.
texting.
It could be
Yeah.
the Graham Norton red chair, which I was in recently,
I find that very cruel.
Wicker
which they said to
Wicker
me.
is daunting.
They said to me of the red chair. They said that it's completely. Don't worry, it does. It's quite safe and that.
Does it hurt, the
And
red
then
chair?
as I sat in it, a young woman appeared with a form and said, "Can you sign this?" Just to get my.
The daddy saddle all over again. We
said-
still haven't talked about the Mastermind final.
Well, we've got another hour.
What about
We
We'll
can
come back to
recreate
Mastermind.
the entire show.
And we've got to discuss the Crystal Trophy made by Dennis Mann.
Is that who made it?
John Humphrey says it like we all know who that is. He goes, and of course we'll take home the winner's trophy made by Dennis Mann.
I think
Who's
he means.
Dennis Mann?
I think he means it's a product of humanity, and he uses Dennis Mann as a general term for humanity's industry and inventiveness.
The trophy's man-made.
Yeah,
Oh, lovely, Al.
we can't top that.
No.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Alan Cochrane. Text the show on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website. Still after those voiceovers for the.
Very good.
Oh, yeah.
And many
Terms
have
and conditions.
texted. We've had a couple of similar texts on the subject of naming the quail. Two different people, 776 and 880, have suggested Miquela Strachan.
Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Nice.
Both spelt slightly different, but the same joke, which is fine.
Lovely lady. Michaela
right?
Strachan. Well, I don't know if I've ever met her, but I just remember looking at her and thinking she exuded niceness.
That's nice. But we were talking about Mastermind, weren't we?
We were.
And so we should say the final happened this week, and the winner of the Dennis Mann Trophy
Dennis Mann.
this year was
Engraving glass goblets for TV. And I think it's gonna be. Anyway, so.
was called Jonathan Gibson, who is the youngest ever winner
Yes.
of Mastermind.
Is he 24 or something like that?
He's
Yeah.
23, 24. What I loved, he had a sort of Walter the Softy vibe.
Yeah.
And
Can I say Walter the Softy in the TV version of Dennis the Menace has been turned into a sort of a master villain, Because I think bullying the school softie is no longer quite rightly acceptable in 2021. And so now he deserves it. Whereas before he was just... I remember there was a member of... Because he had a sort of counterculture gang of his own, Walter.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, of softies.
Would you have been in the softies or in Dennis's
I'd like to think I'd have got into... You know,
we know which gang you were in.
I would have been artist in residence in Dennis's gang.
Yes.
But one of Walter's gang was called Dudley Nightshirt, I remember, which I always very much liked.
It's very fun. So, Jonathan Gibson. I mean, I really fell for Jonathan Gibson. He had it all. He had the 1950s Eton haircut. But what I loved about him... I tell you what,
he had a hint of hair flick about him.
Oh, did he?
From a low. That's what he looks like, yeah.
What I liked, guys, is that he said in the little VTs, they do the sort of Strictly Come Dancing.
See, I hadn't watched Mastermind for a while. I didn't know they did those. So they do introductory VTs with a little bit about their life.
With a little bio. They don't do it for all of them, Frank, just the grand final.
Oh, I see.
And he said, did you see this, boys? He said, well, I'm from Glasgow. And then they cut to his family saying, oh, we're so proud of him. It's amazing how well he's done. Sorry, what's happened here? But there aren't enough people on TV like Jonathan Gibson.
But his claim was, because he said, yes, people think it's rather my family don't understand why I speak like this. And he said the theory is that I was given a Winnie the Pooh read by Stephen Fry audiobook when I was a child, and I decided that was how we're supposed to speak.
Yeah.
Of course.
No wonder they want independence.
I mean, I went to Eton, but I watched a lot of Emmerdale Farm. That's how I've ended up like this.
The highlight for me of the VT package was, oh man, they had Gavin Fuller on, who was the youngest winner of Mastermind, and so he was confronted with talking to this guy who was possibly going to take his long-held crown. I think since like 93 or something.
1993 he was.
The youngest in 1993, that's not his age. And he said, so they said, yes, he's gone all the way through to the final, and he didn't get anything wrong in the semi-final. And he said, yeah, it seems an impressive achievement you've done there. That's how he started. I thought, I can see how this is going with Gavin. And then he says, yes, I remember. He said, of course, the final is a very different kettle of fish. That's it, frightening him. And then he says, but you never know, you might have to take on the burden of being the youngest ever. I thought, wow, this is a kind of an anti-pep talk. And at the end of it, poor old Jonathan said, well, that was really great to hear from Gavin. I really feel uplifted by that. I thought, what you want to do, mate, is listen to it again. I mean, fair play to Gavin. He wants to hold on to his youngest ever crown, but God,
Don't we all dare?
It was fabulously undermining respect.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Geordie has said on the way, this is to do with spoiler alerts, on the way into the cinema to watch The Usual Suspects, someone had marked the promo poster with a big arrow pointing at the culprit, saying, it's him.
Oh, cruel.
We're discussing Mastermind and...
no, you don't say it like that now. We say Mastermind.
I say Mastermind.
Yeah.
And we're discussing...
Let's call the whole thing Posh.
We're discussing Jonathan Gibson, who j'adore, I have to say.
Yeah, top man.
And he was just great. He knew absolutely everything, Frank.
I knew his first question in the specialist.
So his specialist subject for the final was Flanders and Swan.
Yes.
Do you know Flanders and Swan?
Oh, yes.
Why are you laughing again, Al?
I would say Flanders, but it's fine.
What would you say, Frank?
We can switch that as well.
Frank, what would you say?
I'd say Flanders. But I'm really fine with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to make it like divisive.
No, that'd be terrible.
Flanders and Swan. You knew the first question.
They were a double act. Yeah, the first question was it was in their song about the hippopotamus. It says Mod Mod, glorious blood. Glorious mod, nothing quite like it for.
Oh, I
and
knew
they had
that
to
one.
complete it, which was cooling the blood. I don't know if cooling the blood is actually a good thing to do, but
Yeah.
So I got that. After that, it lost me a bit. But I saw that. You see, it's quite a bit in the papers saying it's a bit weird. A 24-year-old doing Flanders and Swan, who last performed in 1967. But old Gavin Fuller, the friend of the show, youngest, he did the Crusades. Did anyone say?
Right.
He's a bit young, isn't he, for doing the Crusades?
What I liked about Jonathan Gibson.
It's not just when you do the prep, you don't go into your journal, you go to history books.
He answered some of the questions. He stopped us surnames a lot. It was very headmaster addressing the boys on their way to Evensong. You know, it was. They said which bake-off judge? Did you hear that, Frank? Was awarded a dame. Betty. Which costume designer? Head.
Yeah. Now he's obviously got a method because he's a quizzer. Isn't he?
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's a proper quizzer. And he'd got a method that you say your answer as fast as possible just to get that extra second. Now, when he got his general knowledge, he did get a question that's, that I'll start it so I'll finish. He got one right at the beginning, so it paid off. I knew a guy,
clever.
well, I sort of knew his partner more, but he had really quite a healthy sideline. He did 15-1, but he'd also enter all these competitions in magazines and stuff, and he won loads of money and gifts and things. So giving his life to quizzing.
Yes.
It can be done. I bet we've got some listening to the show.
Oh, we'll have some quizzes, won't we?
Oh, you
I
think
wouldn't
so?
be surprised.
He didn't get the VT, the celebrity VT, though, sadly, because I'm sure Flanders and Swan are. I think they're sadly passed.
They're no longer with us. Yeah.
However, he did miss out
I
on
think
the.
their blood has cooled considerably.
Goodness me. Jimmy Carter sent a letter to one of the contestants, David Cronenberg. Did a video message.
It's great. It's like when people used to do stars in their eyes and the people they were doing used to get in touch, and now they do it on... I wonder if the cast of Sex in the City wrote to Mylene Class.
I don't know if Gavin heard from any of the Crusades.
Yeah, unlikely. I think they've been cancelled, fair to say.
Yeah.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.
Listen, here's the thing. I was sent a paperback novel today.
Lovely.
By, I think it was actually by the author. It was by the author. It was called Angela Jackson, and she says, "Dear Frank," and then free stuff underlined. And she
we were only talking about how much we enjoy free stuff.
I know him so well. But I tell you what's very clever about this book is it was wrapped inside the jiffy bag. It was wrapped in wrapping paper with a ribbon, beautifully wrapped. And then when I come to look at this this paper that it's wrapped in, the pattern is good reviews of this book.
Well, that's clever.
That's a very good idea, isn't it? I'll give you an example. Angela Jackson, that's the author who sent this to me. Angela Jackson is a Mary Wesley for the 21st century.
Lovely.
Who is Mary Wesley?
Mary Wesley, I believe, wrote the Chamomile Lawn.
Oh. I'd like to think I'm the John Wesley for the 21st century with my comedian's prayer book. Oh. John Wesley was a preacher.
Is this show just people asking who's so-and-so Wesley?
Yes, it is, yeah.
I've never read The Chamomile Lawn, but it doesn't sound like my cup of tea.
Absolutely fine work. So she said, I think you'll particularly like, she says in a note, Angela, pages 184 and 279. And then I realised the book is partly set at the Edinburgh Festival, and I'll give you an example on I'm in it is the thing.
Oh.
On one of them, I'm talking with Dara O'Brien. Is that how you say it? I've never got it right.
Right.
But Dara, it's me talking to him, and on page 279, this is what this person starts doing gigs. I meant to say this is what a friend says to him. I meant to say someone from work went to your gig. She wondered if you could get Frank Skinner's autograph for her mum. Ages them. Still. Mark straightened up and looked across Princess Street Gardens at people who seemed to be living simple, unblackmailed lives. I said you might not have access to him, said Johnny, running backwards. I like it, though. I do like being in a book.
Yes.
So thank you for that, Angela, and I shall read it. I'll be honest, I haven't read a novel for a while.
No.
So I'll give it a go. It's got great reviews, though, according to the wrapping paper. It's like, when you used to get fish and chips and then get the news from about 3 days ago. Here you are, how compelling with a northern nod to one's sentimental compassion and wry wit. I mean,
come on.
As soon as I've finished, I'll pass it on to you, Al.
Frank Skinner.
Frank Skinner.
Absolute Radio.
We have some outside world things, which are, it's interesting because we've been discussing the quails, haven't we?
Yes.
This morning.
Yes.
And someone said many years ago I was given some quails.
Okay.
Later out...
You sure it doesn't mean quaaludes?
This is from a correspondent of ours in Norfolk called Bob White.
Okay.
Many years ago I was given some quails.
Oh, you sure it's not Bernard Matthews from Norfolk? Many years ago I was given some quails, and that's one of the best sandwiches I've ever had.
Later on, I found out they were a breed called Bob White.
Oh,
I didn't know whether to be pleased or offended.
That's quite nice,
Yes, what about that?
What a great gift for Bob White.
I know, I was pleased for him. I was really pleased for him.
Okay, I must... what am I going to get my mate Dr. Skull? I'm trying to think of something to buy him. You can tell that was going to be a Dr. White joke, and I cleaned it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about what used to be the big event of the week that we used to talk about for ages on the show, but now seems quite low-key, and we'll just talk about it briefly.
Okay.
What's that?
That was the Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch the Oscars?
I thought he was going to say the
no
Great
one
Sal.
did they?
Well... You've done a few corporate gigs, Al. You know when you do like double glazing salesperson of the year in a function room at a East Midlands 4-star hotel.
Yeah.
I don't like to show off, but I once hosted the Kitchen, Bedroom and Bathroom Awards at the Excel Centre.
Oh, well, this was no Excel. This was like a function room in a 4-star hotel.
Yeah.
Sir Elton John said it looked like a Starbucks. That was his...
Oh, by the way, we need to point out the Till Tanding anniversary was a few weeks ago. One of our readers got in touch.
I'm still standing. Yeah, that was when Elton sang I'm Still Standing without the aspirant. Is it the aspirant? Is that the name of that sentence?
Yeah.
So when I'm still standing, better than I ever did. Yes, it was an unusual thing, I think, perhaps for a bet.
Yeah.
Can I just return us momentarily to the Oscars? Didn't they go presenter free? They went without a presenter because
Regina King sort of hosted it.
Ah.
So she kind of it was stripped
They
down.
went without a comic, so as far as you two are concerned, there was no presenter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I read that it had gone presenter free because I didn't watch it, but the article that I saw said it hadn't got a presenter, and I thought, well, I knew that driverless cars were going to affect driving jobs, but I didn't think Zoom conferences were going to affect award ceremonies.
I think there was a deliberate attempt to... I mean, obviously there are certain COVID restrictions, but I think there was also...
Yeah.
I recently watched a brilliant thing from the old Vic, and it was the Lorax sort of live on your laptop. You know, you watched it. And it was brilliant. But what was brilliant about it is because the original production was written for the theatre, they'd stripped it, they called it a scratch production.
Yeah.
So they stripped it down so it really worked on your laptop. They should do it again. It was great. I loved it. And it was like that. It's like they said, well, we can't do the full Oscars thing, so we're just really going to make it lo-fi. And I kind of liked it in that respect, but it looked fabulously cheap. But as Bob Geldof once said to me, that suit looks great on you, Frank, because it looks cheap. And we always got on very well, me and Bob Geldof.
Goodness me.
Terrible bloke.
Frank Skinner on
Absolute Radio.
Thomas Coles has been in touch. I had Data's death spoiled by Star Trek magazine. Well, that's one we can all relate to.
I had Tom Baker's appearance in Day of the Doctor spoilt by Tom Baker just telling a journalist about it. So,
well, this might cheer you up, Frank. We've had baby monkey news coming.
I wish
from
I'd got it
Texter 626. Baby monkey isn't an actual song; it's a meme. In the video, the baby monkey is actually riding backwards on a pig. They're the correct words, riding backwards on a pig. It's very funny as it happens.
Oh, riding backwards on a pig, baby monkey.
I feel like we're now recommending memes to people.
Yeah,
this is a bit like when broadsheet newspapers put in Twitter comments into news articles.
Yes.
Well, we don't have the baby monkey thing, but I'm just going to play this because I love it. Hey! Okay, so the Oscars, by the way, I'd seen one film that was mentioned in the whole
Michael
ceremony.
Owen.
Yeah, exactly.
No, he's seen 7 films. One of which. Do you remember which one, guys, he liked?
Seabiscuit.
Ah,
well done, Alan.
Fantastic. When I see Biscuit, the only film I'd seen was the Chicago 7 film. You know that one?
Oh, yes.
Oh, okay. I've not seen that.
Promising Young Woman.
Very,
I
very
loved.
good. I'd seen nothing, but there was one called My Octopus Teacher, which I was very...
Well, yes, I was relieved.
It wasn't a classroom groper.
It
was a proper octopus.
I was rather concerned when I heard the title of that.
It was a genuine octopus.
We've all been there, love.
I'm quite keen to check that one out. But
Nomadland, we should say, you may be aware, Frank, is Gareth Richards, loved friend of the show and contributor. It's his brother, of course, Joshua James Richards, who won Best Cinematographer BAFTA.
You're joking?
No, and was nominated at the Oscars. Joshua, you remember the good-looking brother? He
always talked about the good-looking brother. Now he's got a whole new reason to resent him. Be jealous and feel hopeless.
Exactly that. Yeah.
It's Joshua James Richards' girlfriend, Chloe, who won Best Director.
You are... Wow!
Yes.
See, that always amazes me. If I know anyone who's done well, apart from the obvious pain of that, it always shocks me. Like the Oscars feels like a million.
I know.
There's this weird thing, isn't there, that the status of actors is film actors are the most high status, and then television, and then theatre. Whereas in fact, of course, it's upside down because theatre is the hardest thing to do. You know.
Yeah.
It's all right when you can do retakes and do dobs and get helped in the edit.
I think Gareth's family were actually the vast majority of the viewing figures for the Oscars this year.
That's really amazing.
It's quite something. I know. It's all gone a bit Jack Thorne in the family.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I know how it feels to have a more successful member of the family. It makes you feel inadequate and hopeless. Don't believe me.
Oh, I don't.
No. Well, search around. No, you're the star in your family.
Well, so am I, but that's because I'm the only one left.
Yeah. Wow. And on that note...
What a way to end the show.
Wow. Oh, boy.
Respect, Mondo.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a great line, but for those around you, how do you, where's the next step after that? After we've fallen through the ice?
I do apologise.
No, don't apologise. You've earned the right. Somebody also thanked Macro at the Oscars, which, as you know, is the wholesale warehouse that we were all...
Fair play.
Yeah, I mean...
Someone wants a Macro card.
They'll do anything to get a Macro card, these Oscar winners. Oh, man, I think it was the octopus, actually. Imagine how much he could carry. I'm taking him on...
Not that dodgy teacher again.
I'm taking the octopus on Supermarket Suite. I wonder if he's still alive, the octopus. Anyway, so I'm going to...
I'm glad you've ended it on a brighter note.
Yeah, exactly. It's better than... yeah. Yes, not only is he dead, but so is his whole... Anyway, Thank you so much for listening to us this morning. I always appreciate it. You know what? If the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back again this time next week. Now get out.
This is Frank Skinner. This is
Absolute Radio.